Napag-uusapan natin yung education as well. Wala pa sa
So as I said, you have the DICT, you have Republic Act 10844, and then yung Data Privacy Act 10173, yung Cybercrime Prevention Act 10175, and then yung mga NIST, mga ISO 27000, ano yan, covered. Those are all referenced by these mga law. I don't think we have a shortage of laws. Baka we have a shortage of personnel and maybe a shortage of training. Kasi nangyayari, you have a very, very small group of people who are highly knowledgeable about security. But the majority of the public sector, and I would say the private sector probably, are largely in the dark. Kaya, and again, it's a cultural problem. Parang hindi masyadong top of mind sa mga taong bayan about how vital data is. And yun na nga, the only way to do it is to start teaching people. Like, I don't know if cybersecurity is part of basic education. It certainly was not during my time, pero wala pa namang internet ng panahon ko. But I don't know now to what extent children are taught cybersecurity awareness habang bata. And yet, the moment they get out of the classroom, they're on their mobile phones, they're on their computers, they're on TikTok. So talagang behind ang awareness in terms of you know, putting cyber in front. So yun, I would argue more for enforcement and education, and of course engineering, just to get all of the proper software set up, antiviruses, firewalls, VPNs. These are not common, I think, common practice in any household. And then babalik din tayo sa ethics. Data ethics kasi, it's more than just compliance with the law. Ethics is also looking at risks and benefits, trying to balance. If you're going to do something, you might as well prioritize what's good rather than what's bad. And it's also about values. And values is sometimes abstract. It can be religious, it can be moral. Pero ang bottom line dyan, you put you put you put the human well-being at the forefront, and medyo divorced yung data from that right now sa Philippines. Like the word data doesn't appear in the Constitution. Or it appears once pala. It's in the context of research. The word data does not appear in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Pero everything that has to do with human rights today has to do with data, di ba? If you don't have an ID, you can't get any basic services. Di ba? So, data rights, yun ang mantra namin sa data ethics, data rights to human rights. And social problems are data problems. Kahit anong problema ngayon sa mundo, it has a data component. At di pa natin pinag-uusapan yung artificial intelligence dyan. Pag pumasok na yung AI, then lalong lalala if we're not really ready for it.
I totally agree. So, wala pa silang mga is like risk management policy for this one. They should have like a risk management every time if there's a data breach or ongoing. Wala ba mga risk management policy officer that look into on the system itself? So if there's a new system, do we need to get that? Do we need to upgrade that? So because there's a lot, as particularly sinabi mo, AI, because some of the company who is selling anti cybersecurity or cybersecurity software like MediaNet or Cisco, they're using AI now to detect any unusual transaction on the system, on the network, like to make sure there's no man in the middle. Do they have that?
When you say risk management, marami naman types of risk management. Pag sinabi information risk management, like I said, merong departments for that, no? But that should actually be a role in every government agency. And I can't tell you right now if every government agency has one. Malamang that is subsumed under IT, general IT, which is okay sana, pero to be honest, hindi rin nating masabi to what extent general IT is trained in information security. Another thing that I feel is lacking is what we call risk communication, which is actually quite prevalent in the healthcare sector. Kunyari, during COVID, whenever you make an announcement about a pandemic, you have to balance kasi the information and the panic of the people. So you don't disclose everything, so you're gonna scare everyone, but you can't disclose nothing. So that's also going to create suspicion. And yung current government approach, at least what we've seen, is to downplay and not disclose, which obviously has a negative effect. Kasi uuna namang kakalat na yung balita whether you disclose it or not. So you have to find a way of proactively managing it. I think that is just basing on the behavior of PhilHealth is lacking, right? Either as a skill or as a proactive policy or proactive process. Pero yung mga sinasabi mo kanina, yung mga ISO 27000, meron yan, meron nang gumagawa niyan, merong mga framework yan. But maybe it's a compliance problem. Kaya nga ang isa sa suggestions ko recently was to do cyber drills. I-practice natin. Drill everyone. Check them at random, audit them at random. Para talagang ma-instill sa culture ng mga tao. Make it part of their performance evaluation. Na kung if you fail a cyber drill, that's tantamount to actually failing a cyber incident. Kasi would you rather just suffer the breach? Laking gastos yun pag may breach. Not just financially, but reputationally. Tsaka once the data is out, it's always out. Minsan may ganyang attitude din tayo narinig from some agencies na, yung data na yan, luma na yan. Yeah, pero kailan man nag-iba yung birthday mo? Ang kung nag-iiba yung birthday mo every year. If your birthday is out, it's out. Or for some of us, like I have one telephone number that's been around for 20 years. It's technically an old data, pero if it's out, it affects me up to now. So again, it's back to culture. The culture has to change, has to improve. And I feel then I don't know kung manhid lang yung Pilipinas, pero these rankings are there for a reason. It's a way of naming and shaming the countries who need to improve. Kasi I think as a whole, the world needs to improve in cybersecurity for us to ensure yung digital backbone mo yan eh. Diyan nakabase yung buong economy mo, di ba? So if that's not secure, then it could paint the country in a very bad light. And then let's also not forget na the Philippines is, apart from being number whatever sa cyber, we're also one of the top destinations for BPOs. So US, even Australia, Europe, they send work to the Philippines. And the assumption there is Philippines is a secure place to send work. Like one time I heard parang 60% of Wall Street outsources to the Philippines. Wall Street, mga big investment banks, they have like JP Morgan Chase, Capital One from Canada. These are large banks sending work to the Philippines. And the assumption there is if you're a financial institution, you're sending customer transactions and data to the country, the country has to be secure. So I have no doubt naman that the BPOs themselves are actually cyber ready. In fact, they're probably more ready than the government. Pero yun na nga parang it's more about the reputation of the country as a whole.